The ultimate bao bun is soft and fluffy, the perfect vessel for that sticky pork and that sweet hoisin. I'm going to show you how you can make the bun at home yourself. But first we're going to make that slow roasted sticky pork. So I've got my pork belly now. I like to look for a piece that's not too fatty, that's nice and meaty. Now what we're doing is combining some sugar and some salt. Just mix that through and pour that on top of your pork, flip it over, get that salt sugar mix everywhere, because what we're doing is we're creating almost a brining environment. So this salt and the sugar will break down and start to permeate that pork with sweetness and saltiness. All right, cover that up and get that into the fridge overnight is best, but 4 or 5 hours at a pinch. All right, so let's have a look at what we've got. And you can see all of that liquid there. That's the brine that we've made for the pork. All right, I'm gonna lift that out. Now rinse off the pork and then pat it down with some paper towel and get it nice and dry. Now that goes into another baking tray, and we really wanna give this pork some time in the oven to get super soft. So put it in at 100 degrees for 4 hours. So the all important bao bun. The secret here is that we wanna get them soft, smooth and fluffy, and I've got a couple of tricks for you guys. So first off, I've got just some all-purpose flour, and I want some skim milk powder. So the skim milk powder kind of gives us a little bit of a better texture and flavor to our buns. I want some baking powder and some instant yeast. This is an instant, which means that we don't have to bloom it in warm water. A little bit of sugar as well. Try to add that in away from the yeast. Yeast and sugar don't love each other that much, and just give that a little mix through. Now I've just got some warm water here, and I'm going to add some vegetable oil to that. So the key here is that we've got fluffing agents, if you like, which is the baking powder and the yeast, and then we've got the fat, which actually helps with the texture as well. Okay, I'm making a well and just pouring that liquid into the center. I'm going to start mixing it through with my wooden spoon, and then I'm going to have to get my hands in there. I can see it's starting to come together now, so I'm going to... And let's get this dough on the road. Now I can feel already that this is a little bit wet. I'm getting a lot of dough sticking to my fingers, so I'm going to add in a little bit of flour. Just use a little bit of common sense and watch the video. You want to keep kneading for about 5 to 10 minutes until the dough is really smooth. And now I can see I'm not getting any of that stickiness on the palm, so I'm thinking this is a pretty good amount of flour to have. So now I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to knead until I get a really smooth dough. Now let's have a look at our dough. Oh, this is something about making homemade things that's so joyous. And you can see we've got that lovely honeycomb texture. That's what we're looking for here. So it's our second kneading, and this is all about getting rid of all of those air bubbles, just working that flour and that gluten a little bit more. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So time to roll our dough out. Okay, now what I'm looking for is about a 1 centimeter thickness. Let me have a look, and that is 1 centimeter, perfect. Now there are 2 problems I've encountered with making bao buns at home, and that is getting that really nice, soft, smooth texture on the top of the bun, as well as getting a uniform shape. So this is my solution for both of those things. First of all, I just want to oil the top of this dough. You'll see why later. We're going to fold these over, and I want to make sure they don't stick. And then you want to take either a pastry cutter, or I'm just using a plastic cup, that's about 8 centimeters in diameter, and punch out your little circles of dough. Okay, now peel away all of that excess, and then just gently, without disturbing the shape too much, just fold that dough over, and then use your cup or your rolling pin and just gently push down to sort of flatten the shape a little bit. And then you want to pop that onto some baking paper, just little squares of baking paper. Just continue doing that. And that leftover dough, you can re-roll that and reshape into more little circles. Now these guys need a second proofing time, so I'm going to pop them straight into my bamboo steamer. Okay, put the lid on, and any that don't fit, just pop them under a tea towel and let them rise. So we want 30 minutes for those guys to get nice and fluffy again. Okay, these guys have had plenty of resting time and they're looking nice and fluffy. Now let them steam away for 12 minutes. Okay, these guys are done, but don't lift the lid. This is my really big, important secret tip for these. Just turn the heat off and let them just relax in the steamer for another 5 minutes. That'll stop the top of your bao bun from getting all wrinkly. Wow, that pork has been smelling so good. All right, let's have a look and see what we've got. So at this point, it's all about the jelly. So if you have a look, that pork is just so soft, it's falling apart. Now crank your oven up really high and put that back into the oven so we get a little bit of color on the outside of the pork. Now, would you look at that? That pork is so soft and deliciously sticky. So we're not after a super crispy skin for this one. That's not really what this is about. It's more about the stickiness. So let's get that out and just, I mean, you don't even really need it to slice this. It's just falling apart. And now for the buns. And would you take a look at that? So let me just open one up for you so you can see. This is what it's all about. Super fluffy, super light, beautifully airy. Just perfect. Just spread one side with some sweet hoisin and then a few little chunks of that really sticky pork, some cucumber, and a little sprinkling of spring onion. And that, my friends, is what you would call epic.